So, sending a shout out to my niece. Today is her birthday. So, I want to say happy birthday, Amira. It is my great niece. And, yay. All right, moving on. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about, tonight, what my journey's been consisting of and what I've been learning. And so, if you've been following me, you know that I've been going through Dark Night of the Soul. And so today's video is going to just tell you a little bit about where I am in that space. And the other thing is really just talking about relationships when it comes to twin flames, soulmates, soul connections, soul ties, things of that nature, and really just what my experience has been and what my testimony is. I make these videos for me and for me to reflect on, and if they resonate with you and you can take something from it, then good. If not, no love lost. Okay. But nevertheless, so in the Dark Night of the Soul, which I'm going to talk a little bit more when I start talking about these relationships and twin flames, is just a journey that I have been on, thinking that it was something that was very new to me, and I just started it, and only to realize that I've been in this dark space for the last 2.5, 3 years. Things have been happening, 3 years, yeah. Things have been happening back to back. Things have been ripped from me. I have still been abundantly blessed. It's just the things that matter to me, the things that I was attaching myself to, all start crumbling down. Friends, church, work, relationship, my children. I was empty nesting. They're all scattered. I've, I have one in Louisiana with a grandbaby, and one in Los Angeles, which isn't too far. One in San Diego, who minds his own business, way far out in the suburbs. And then I had a child way in Connecticut, attending Yale. So it was really difficult for me, especially when me and the ex had broke up, because I was also um, um, not to replace their own mother, but I was mothering those children in my presence because I love them as my own children. And so when they were gone, it was not only was I empty nesting from my children and their grown spaces, and me not being in this space where I thought, but it was I'm empty nesting from losing two very young boys in my life. So it was very devastating period. Got balanced a whole lot in my life. I am a Christian and I hold true to my beliefs, to what I believe and how I believe it. And so I am not going to bang you over the head about Christianity, but I will share with you my beliefs, and some Christians can get mad at me, and that's okay. And I'm just not cattle material, and I believe that what is true is what is true, but everybody's philosophy may not necessarily line up with the Bible or the Word or whatever. And so, nevertheless, when it comes to twin flames, soulmates, soul connections, soul ties, a little bit of my story. So I have some key notes here, so I'm going to look down at them just to keep me focused, because I move faster and stop rambling as much. And so the twin flames, if you don't know what a twin flames is, everybody knows what a soulmate is. Like, oh, that's my one and only soulmate. And, they're the love of my life. And so a twin flames is pretty much the same thing, except, you're supposed to be two souls. You were two individuals that were made into one, because God said, these are the people who were meant to be with each other. And then they were split, and they've been incarnated they've been looking for one another, only to become incarnated to reunify, and for a purpose. And so, with that, everybody has their own belief, whether it's the purpose for God or the purpose for the source or the purpose for the higher power, whatever yours is, that's what it is. Okay. And so, I do believe, as well, I have someone that I really like to watch, and I think I put it in one of the links. But I really believe in what he talks about soul connections. Absolutely. There are people that we connect to, for me, I say spiritually, or, we connect in our souls. And so we have those instant connections, or maybe it's not so instant, but we realize that we mirror each other. Like the things that they go through, I'm going through. Things I'm going through, they're going through. They may not be quite exactly, but they are absolutely what we're going through. And I have 3 of those connections in my life, that I know that when I'm going through something, I can always call on them. When they're going through something, they can call on me. And it's always knowing that you called me at the right time. You called me for pray for you, but I'm going to need you to pray for me because of what I'm going through. Or, oh, I just went through that, so yeah, let me pray. Or I can help you through that. Or, them telling me the same thing. And so I do believe in those spiritual soul connections. I think they're very real. Just based on what I've had in my life. Excuse me. But for today, I really want to focus on this twin flame, and with a relationship with your significant other, your soulmate at such a higher degree, because you see each other differently and you cause each other lots and lots of pain because you see yourselves in them, and the hurt that you're going through is just part of the process, and it may feel toxic, but that's not what it is. Blah, blah, blah. You hear all of that going on when you Google anything about twin flames. And I have to say there's a lot more on here than when it was first exposed to me. And there's a lot of contradictive information. And you do have gurus saying don't listen to them because it's not real. And then you have coaches saying, our way is the right way. It's a lot. And so it can be overwhelming and confusing, especially if you're going through it, and you're trying to understand what you're going through. Let me just say, I'm just going to say it off the top. I don't care if you're Christian or if you're whoever you are, whatever your belief is, whoever your higher power is. I'm just going to say off the top, if you are Christian, it's not in the Bible. Those were questions that I asked, and I was constantly trying to be convinced that it was, and this is what God meant. No, it's not what he meant. If he meant it, he would have said it, and that's that. It is not biblical. Twin flames are not biblical. Are there loves in the Bible that are just really beautiful loves that could be deemed as twin flames? Possibly, possibly, but it is not something that is concrete in the Bible, because God talks about what marriage is. He doesn't talk about, he talks about courting. I mean, the Bible talks about courting, but there's nothing in there that says anything about bringing these two souls together. So I'm just going to put that out there first. What you do with it is what you do. But for me, I'm going to share my relationship and my experience that I had. So I had a relationship in which I call twin flame. And so you should know that if you ever hear me say my twin flame, or he knows that sometimes I'll call him my TF or whatever, it's no longer for the same concept of what was introduced to me. It's just, to me, the nicknames that we have now, the same as I used to call us Hancock from the movie Hancock. So I'm going to get all into that. But with relationships, my backstory for the relationship that I had that was my TF, so I thought, I met him um, on a random, just out, and we met, and we both had I had a friend out there. He talked to the friend, and the friend was like, yeah, you can talk to her. And he wasn't really sure how to approach me, but there was an instant connection between us. Not so instant that was like, oh, love at first sight, let's make this work. The connection was more so, I'm gonna be cautious about this, but I'm very interested in her. And for me, it was like me hearing, that's going to be your husband. And I believe with all my heart that that was from God. And because I did not want to be in love, I I didn't want to be in love. I wasn't I was okay with having love and sharing companionship with someone, but I wasn't trying to be in love. And because of that, I was in a relationship that I wasn't totally in love with. I loved him, I cared for him, but we also just knew that we were doing things for the betterment of both of us because that's the space that we needed to be in. And so our commitment was a little bit shaky because of where the space we needed to be in. And so when I heard it, I literally ran from this man because I was like, no, I don't want to be in love. I don't want a husband that I'm going to fall for, because I also heard that he's going to hurt you. All in the same time of, this is going to be your husband and he's going to hurt you. So which should have been the red flag, like, and it was because I ran. But I guess my curiosity got the best of me. Nevertheless, um, I've had to challenge, did I hear from God? I've heard from God in the past. I've heard the Spirit of the Lord. Um, I've known the Lord since I was a young child. And so there was lots of things for me to wrestle with. Like, is my relationship with the Lord good? Like, there was lots of things for me to wrestle with, because at first it was just about denying the Lord. I really don't want to be in this space. So I was getting engaged to the gentleman that didn't have all of my heart. I had been through relationships after relationships, doing them all wrong, trying to do it all right. But every time that I was trying to do it right, it was slapping me in the face. And so I wasn't thirsty, I wasn't hungry for it, although there was a strong desire to be married because of, you're raised in the church and you're told that this is what you need to do. And so I wanted to do right. I wanted to be the Job. I wanted to make sure that I lived righteous and upright. My past will tell you none of that happened at all. So, but I thought, well, maybe I'm getting in relationships for all the wrong reasons. Maybe I've married for all the wrong reasons. And maybe just being in love is just not enough. And so I had a friend that I was like, I like you, you like me. And it grew into some love. And I thought, good, I love him just enough. And he loves me just enough. And I don't want it to go any further. So when I met I'm just gonna, for the because I'm not trying to say names or anything. So I'm just going to say the engaged and the twin flame, just so we kind of understand, or maybe I should just say the soulmate, just so we kind of understand each other. But yeah, so I had some issues going on with the engaged, and so it was easier for me to leave and as Jada Pickett would say, get entangled with the soulmate. The soulmate really touched my soul and was wild, and I was crazy about him. And I assumed he was crazy about me. I have no idea, but I'm going to hold that in my heart, that that's what happened. And so we would always have these really beautiful moments, and then we would be like oil and water and just be like, what is going on? It was like we were literally talking two different languages. And there were even some spiritual warfare things going on. We would talk on the phone, and while we're talking, the sound would go out, or you would hear weird stuff, and it would always happen like at the very wrong time for it to happen. And so we would get frustrated thinking the other person was doing something or whatever. It just got really crazy. And in our spiritual walk, we both believe in spirit entities and demons and demonology. And so, it was a lot of, wait, is this spiritual attack because of, we're going to be a phenomenal couple for the Lord, or is this, what's going on? Should we just part? I mean, and we had lots of conversations that way. For me, there were orange flags, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't. And there were things that was going on. So I would always say, hey, Hancock, you're my Hancock, because in the movie, they could never be together because it would cause too much chaos, too much stirring up of toxicity, just, it was bad. And so it would make the world or wherever imbalanced or whatever, right? And so when we were together and it was great, it was great. And we were having that when we were together on the weekends, we were like bumping heads. Like the more time we spent together, we were bumping heads. And as time went on, that started changing for the opposite. In the weekends, we were great. And so um, they were red flags, and I called them orange flags, but they were apparent red flags of some of the things that were going on, and some of the things that were happening in my life I would have walked away from, because of the things that I have been through in my past. I would have normally just said, I don't want to deal with this, um, I'm gonna go on about my way, and those attempts did happen, but the love that I was being shown was a different kind of love, and I now wasn't running from it, but I was embracing it. And um, I didn't leave the relationship. It would have been in both of our interests, because he was dealing with whatever he was dealing with at the time and for a long time, and still, was struggling with some of those things to the end of our relationship. And I was being triggered and dealing with the stuff that I thought I took care of and found out it wasn't taken care of. Um, if twin flames are supposed to bring out the worst in you so that you find out the best of you. And I've got to say, that definitely did happen, just not within our space, because I was able to see the mirrors. And I think he was able to go, man, there was a lot of spaces where we just did not like each other, honestly, because we were seeing ourselves in each other. We were seeing, if we weren't acting in it then, we were seeing how we were acting before, and so it was really frustrating for the both of us. And for him, he was like, this is too much work. And for me, I was like, you gotta work a relationship, and so it just was really hard for both of us. We were addicted to each other. And I think a lot of our love is genuine, but at the end of the day, if you don't know what love looks like because you're not loving the Lord enough, and you haven't learned who you are in Christ to even embrace who you are, you're not going to be able, you're only going to scratch the surface of what that love feels like, because God's put those pieces of love in you. But in order for you to get there, you have to go through dealing with your past and dealing with your ego and dealing with, learning how to become one with God. So with the twin flames, there's a lot, like I said, of toxicity. And then you start to question, like, is this healthy? For me, I have given up a lot of times with things, and so I did not want to give up, so I was holding on for, I'm going to do this right this time. And I promised him I would not leave, and it was true. It was like if we were married, I would never leave your side. And if I'm going through whatever I'm going through, I wouldn't want you to leave my side. I would want you to pray for me and hold on to me. And so it just became something, a lot of people in different people's ears between the two of us, a lot of haters out there. So we didn't have a lot of support. So it became toxic. So there's a difference with a toxic relationship, a twin flame relationship, and a God relationship. I was going through all of those questions of, is this toxic? Is this twin flames? Is it genuine? Is there really such a thing as twin flames? Or is this God? Do you want me to be with this man? Did I hear you? Did I not hear you? Is it temporary? Was it just a season? But in the Bible, season means lifetime. What is going on? And so it was really, really hard for me, especially because there I was saying that I heard God. So I did not want to disappoint God. And there were times when my twin flame was asking, are you just in this relationship because God told you? And it was like, yes, but I still believe in who God is, which means if this is where He told me to be, I'm going to find my happiness there as soon as we can get on the same path. So that I still believe that there's truth to things like that, but for this particular thing, we were learning what twin flame separation, the chaser, the runner. He's running, you're chasing. Oh, now you're running, he's chasing. We were just learning a whole slew of, you're in your awakening. We did Reiki, and we're like, wait, is this going against our spiritual beliefs, or are we just as Christians very closed-minded and think that everything is evil? And we're the same Christians who didn't believe in exorcisms, but yet we call it spiritual deliverance. It's the same thing. So it was just a lot of uncertainties and questions of, wait, where are we in our walk with God? Did we turn our back? There was just a whole lot. And so it was a lot of pressure, especially because he had came out of a relationship, and there I was fadangling out of an engagement, and it was a lot. And we learned about the dark night of the souls with twin flames. You have to reconnect. You guys have to do all this, do all the work when you're separated. So when you do the work, it's going to be easier when you come back together for the reunification of you and your twin flame. Get rid of the ego so that you can get back to the purpose of what God has for you. So I bought into it, and I bought a coaching package and everything, and I kept trying to line it up with the Lord and everything, and I was struggling with it and everything, and I think he was struggling with it, but he was more open to things that I wasn't open with. I was like, no, we can't dip into that, you know. I think my Reiki experience was very true, where the Lord was like blocking certain things because everybody's not up on the up and up. And it was interesting. So later I learned about what the dark night of the soul really was, and that it wasn't this thing that was about twin flames. It's something that a Catholic, I don't know if he was a priest, St. John, he wrote a poem about dark night of the soul, and he breaks it down. I mean, I don't remember how many pages, but I'm thinking like a good 600 pages of breaking down what this poem mean. And what this poem really was about is when, like, that's pretty much, it had like 7 deadly sins in there. It was like touching on the sins of selfishness and, pride. And it was really talking about getting rid of the ego. And then as you go on, you realize everything that you thought you knew about you isn't you. because we've been conditioned, we've been pre-programmed about what we can do, what we can't do. Whether it's right or wrong, it's still all pre-programmed. And so getting to that space of realizing I've got to let go of even the things that I believe in order to understand what I believe. And so I've been going through that, not knowing what I've been going through that. And I was going through my dark night of the soul pretty much throughout our whole relationship. We were together for 4 years, and I was going through that dark night of the soul for 3. Um, and everything, and I think he was too, but I can't really focus on him. And so I didn't realize it till I'm going through it. Now I'm processing everything coming out of it, going, wait, all of that was to get me here, to get me to this space where I'm now feeling like I'm getting prepared for the purge. And it's nothing that can be explained that easy, but there is one person who explains this really beautiful. And so in one of my videos, I think it is the darkest day, my trans parent transitioning, where I am just totally crying everywhere, and it looks like I am having the worst nervous breakdown in life. I think there's a link in that particular video that explains, and I think it's a beautiful place to put it, because if you watch my 13 minutes of crying and then you watch his 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 14 minutes of understanding what Dark Night of the Soul is, there is the aha of, oh, I thought she was just crazy. I'm not allowed to say crazy. All right. So anyway, I finally learned what it really meant and what I was going through, and recognized that, wow, this is a journey of oneness. This is a journey of learning who I really am. I am learning true love. I'm learning the love for myself. I am learning how selfish that I've been with all people, not my relationship with him, but how I had been with my family, my friends, my um, um, church members. It doesn't matter who's at fault. Even my job, I was going through a lot of stuff, and it didn't matter who was at fault. It mattered how I was perceiving the fault and how I was digesting the fault and responding to the fault. And don't get me wrong, I've prayed for a lot of things. I got assaulted 2 years ago, and the emotional drain of that has just been overwhelming. Maybe a year and a half, I don't even remember. The emotional draining of that is how I started making videos, and I had to step out of the professional me and put on and take off the mask. And it was a hard journey to be vulnerable when my therapist was like, be transparent since you think you are. But this dark night of the soul would prove to me that I am learning what true love really is, and reuniting with God, because I'm now learning God in a whole different light. I am now really understanding how God sees me, and that the propaganda, can't even get it out today. The propaganda of Christianity or spiritual or whatever you are, saying you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and this is the way it should be. And if you read the Bible, it's not lined up like this. We have all these imperfect people that God has chosen, and I am so grateful that God put me on this journey, and that it opened up my eyes, and I was not closed-minded. And now I recognize that there is no twin flame. And all these people are taking money and making you believe things. There are people that are going to jail because they're encouraging them that this is your twin flame, and whatever they do. There are people leaving their families. There are people leaving a lot of things for their twin flames. And it's just promoting toxic relationships. I can definitely say him and I were never in that space where it was so bad that we were irrational and in a space where we're like ready to hurt each other. We'll can't really say that. I mean, like in that space where, because our actions, things, they hurt a lot. And, but we weren't in a space where it became like, there are stories out there where people have killed each other or killed the other person because that's my twin flame. Like, it's just really bad. There are people who are worshiping leaders thinking that they're their gods and giving up tons of money and just terrible things and walking away from their spiritual beliefs to follow the great awakening. And there are truths to some of the awakenings. There is even there is even research about Reiki that is good, but it is bad of what's going on out there, and it is hard to discern what's good and what's not. And today we live in generations where everybody wants to be open, so open that they eat the forbidden fruit because you say it's okay, so I can now eat it. So just really pay attention to the red flags or the orange flags or even the yellow flags. Um, if it's meant for you and your soulmate to be, you'll be. And if it's not, oh well, don't go setting off to pay all this money and get your life together for your twin flame. It's save yourself time, money, and energy and heartbreak. Um, you got to let them go. When God told me to let him go, I was stubborn. And he had to pull him away in such a way that was like, are you kidding, God? And he had told me prior, he was like, let him go. Um, he needed to work in him all by himself. And we didn't do things right. And I needed to work on me all by myself. And it used to be, oh, I'm going to work on me so I can get better so that we can be back together. And now I don't have those same kind of desires. My faith is a little different, as in what I believe in my faith and what I believe to be true and what not true. And at this time, I just really don't even indulge into that. My thoughts are, God, look, you know where you want me to be, who you want me to be, who you want me to be with, where all of that, what job you want me to be in. And so my faith lies in God for all things. I don't say, oh, this is what God told me, so this is the way it has to be. I now depend on God to guide me day by day by day. I can't plan for 20 years from now because that's not God's plan. Um, but I have much respect for people's spiritual walks and how they find their spiritual walks or what they're doing or how they find God. It's not mine to judge. I can only show scripture, and it's not mine to judge. I still love on everybody. I still I love on everybody. I want everybody's soul to be saved, and how it's saved isn't mine. It isn't mine to judge or say. I just think that we should all be praying for each other differently, faithfully, sincerely, not judging and I'm better than you, and they're teaching the false word, and because they said this, they're the devil, and because they made this sign. Sometimes people are doing signs they have no idea. Sometimes people are in cults and don't know that they're in them. So I can't sit there and say you're a devil because you're doing it. No, because you don't know. So People could have called me a devil for getting wrapped up in the twin flame. I wasn't. It's just the path that I took, the same way they took a path of fornicating or doing drugs or whatever their walk was. And so nobody's been born to walk on water other than Jesus. And so without him, I can't walk. Even if he allows me, I still got to wait for him. So I really appreciate this journey, and even having the journey with my twin flame. And that's just the nickname that I use for us. And like, everybody would probably lose their mind for saying Brangelina. Brangelina, I thought it was really cute because there were a couple that was cute. It was a nickname. Okay, so for ours it was just twin flame. And so I mean, it's just twin flame, and that's just what I say now. But not believing like we are these twin flames and this and this. There are still part of the culture that is inside. And I'm very careful about it because it's like, I don't want to get caught in that. But I now have a better understanding, and I now have the grace of God on my side. And he's just been really fantastic working with me. I'm not trying to pretend to be nothing that I'm not. And if you're on this journey of trying to figure out your soulmate, your twin flame, whatever, all I can say is let go and let God. It'll come to you in good time, in God's timing. Even if you find that person who is, let go and let God. Because just because God told you who it was, didn't mean you were supposed to pursue it. You could miss the mark. You could taint the whole thing. Or maybe they were just enlightening you and you were supposed to keep your mouth shut. Or maybe you read it all wrong, So there are so many would have, could haves, and would haves. But if you're on this journey of twin flames, don't go spending a whole bunch of money. And as soon as you start hearing people start saying, they're their own church and they're praying and it's to them, or please don't buy into it. There are great coaches to get you through certain things. And the dark night of the soul is really a beautiful, beautiful thing. But do not be going through these separation periods or looking at the dark night of the soul to say, oh, I'm getting this person back. It was never intended for twin flames. It is just what was evolved and used to describe the path of twin flames. Only because you're supposed to be going through the same darkness, this ill feeling, the same thing Jesus went through in these 40 days, or the same thing that, Jacob is fighting an angel, or Job is realizing, I thought I was holier than thou. So if you're looking at that and the pain that they were going through, David lays out of all the pain that he's caused God. He's in his dark night. He's in his dark night realizing he has stolen another man's wife and they've lost their child and his children are running amok. My God, we're talking about the great David, the friend of God, was going through it. He was in his dark night. And so that is the parallelism of what twin flames is supposed to be with this dark night, is that when you're in separation, you are feeling that same kind of pain, that same kind of whatever. I can contest that kind of love is very, very strong and it hurts very, very much. But at the end of the day, if the breakup or whatever it was to cause you to become closer and learn how to be one with yourself, to get in unity with God, not oneness that you're just like, oh, God's out of it, but just that you're like one with yourself in order to shed off the old you. They call it shadow work, when you're learning who you really truly are. If that's what it took, touche, hooray. But don't do it to get them back. If it's over, it's done. If it's meant to be, it will resurface. Don't go searching for them. Don't be sending messages trying to get. If you're still friends, be friends because you're friends. And that's it. If you're not, get over it and let it go. If it's unhealthy for you, let it go. So that's my advice. This message was probably one of my longest ones. I really wanted you to understand the concept of twin flames. I wish I could have did it in 10 minutes. And I know that some of you, most of you, all of you have fallen off in the first 5 minutes. And so again, the videos are for me. And if it catches anyone's attention and you can resonate with it, God bless you. Excuse me. You have my prayers. And my phone is dying, so it's definitely time for me to get off. And good night, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all everywhere. I am Tanetta, and have a very good night from America, West Coast.